The last CSGO major is about to finish. The playoffs are here. We have the 8 teams. Some would say not the best 8 teams we could have possibly have, but nonetheless we have 8 teams, and the bracket is pretty interesting. And then in about 5 days from now, we're gonna get the last CS:GO major champion. And obviously, yesterday the legend stage finished. We saw Navi, getting out of the competition, eliminated by FaZe. We obviously saw the day before that G2 only being eliminated. Teams like ENCE as well, that everybody expected to be in some sort of contentions for the playoffs. We have some surprises like Into the Breach, Apex, Gamer Legion, all these teams. Nobody counted them in to be any kind of factor in this legend stage. And obviously there is a subject of the system and the format, but that doesn't really matter at this point. Nobody really cares at this point. We just want to see who's going to be the best team in Paris this year and for the last CSGO major that we ever had. Just to remind you guys that, the next major is going to be in March of next year. It's going to be the CS2, the new game. Well, relatively new game, the new name, new engine, and it should be interesting. But before that happens, we need to crown the last winner of Paris. So if you can see it on my screen, you can see that, and probably know even before this video, that the brackets are a little bit crazy in terms of that Heroic is meeting FaZe in the first quarterfinal, and then Monte against Gamer Legion. That's the two most surprising things when it comes to this bracket. And obviously in the bottom part we have Liquid against Apex and Vitality against the British Polish squad of Into the Breach, that everybody had them in 0-3. To be fair, I didn't have them, but I did have Gamer Legion, so fair enough. Now, what can we say? Like, nobody wanted to see Heroic FaZe in the quarterfinals. Everybody thought that was supposed to be like some sort of a final or at least semi-final. But the thing is, like, FaZe was qualified with a 3-2. They played against Navi in the very last game, and they qualified in the very last day, and they deserve to be in a bad spot when it comes to this seeding. But facing Heroic is not going to be easy for them. And overall, the bracket is easy for some teams and much harder for some other teams. But like I said, it's not really the point of the video. We just want to talk about the matchups and who's going to potentially win the whole thing. So I'm not going to go from top to bottom. I'm going to go from bottom to top, simply because the last game of the quarterfinals is the one that everybody is going to be looking at the most. Now, Vitality against Into the Breach. Vitality came into this event after they won Rio. They were qualified directly into the legend stage, and now they played, they played 3 games and they went 3-0. They beat Monte in the 2-0 game. They beat G2 as well in the opener, and they're in a good form after winning Rio. They're in a super, super good form. I'm happy to see them in the quarterfinals, and they're one of my favorites, especially because of the bracket they have. They shouldn't have problem against Into the Breach, and they might meet Liquid in the semis, and probably going to meet Liquid in the semis, which will give them an open road to the grand finals, where they have to eliminate one of the strongest teams in the bracket, which is probably going to be Heroic. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Anyway, Vitality, like I said, 3-0. Super easy for them. It looks super easy, super comfortable for them. They struggled a little bit on the T side against G2. They got them, they allowed them to come back to 13-13, but they managed to close it out with some good calls on the T side and some decent performance, or more than decent performance from ZywOo. I want to see ZywOo in the finals. I want to see, him winning the MVP of this major, because he is playing out of his fucking mind. And it would be a shame not to see him fighting in for the major as a French player that has been born on the day when CS is released. It would be like a super good storyline. Anyway, Into the Breach is no joke, at least on these events. Like, they played the RMR, they qualified into Legends. Nobody thought that they were gonna do anything. They managed to get into the quarters by defeating 3 teams. I can't really remember which 3 teams right now they eliminated, but nevertheless, it's just the fact that they got into the quarterfinals is super, super crazy. But I do think this is the end of the road for them. I do think this is simply it's going to be super hot, super big pressure, because something like this happened to me in 2019, and I'm speaking from experience because I was in a team, remember Renegades. Then we were like a team that was all right. Then people were like giving us credit here and there, but never really thought of us being, some sort of a danger in the playoffs or anything like that. And that for a fair reason, right? Once we got into the first quarterfinals of the major, the game completely changed for us. It was a different kind of pressure, different kind of environment, massive stage, and they're playing against the home favorites. It's just super. It's going to be super hard for them. I don't see them winning a map here, no matter what the veto is. I don't see them winning a map here, and I do see Vitality getting on to the semis here relatively easy. And even though you have to admire Into the Breach there, getting into the quarters, but I do think it's going to be end of the road for them, and I'm looking forward to see if they can, continue with good performances, because they're going to have a decent world ranking after this, so they might get into some sort of a decent spot to get on one of the big events up till the end of the year. So Vitality is winning this one. Now the second game or the third game from the top is Liquid against Apex. Now Apex just qualified yesterday after coming back against NIP in one of the most craziest comebacks in the recent history on the big events. It's just like important comebacks, because like I'm talking about, the elimination game to get into the playoffs of the major is just something super crazy, and they have the mix of this youth and experience in a way that kind of works well for them. They already defeated Liquid in the challenger stage on Ancient. It was 16-12, and they dominated throughout the whole game. So I don't think this is going to be an easy game for Liquid. But yet again, we have players who were never been in this kind of situation. Obviously, Jacob has, and I can't remember if Stiko was with Mouse Sports when they played the quarterfinals, but he has experience obviously at the stage. But the other players not so much, especially JL and Nok and Hickson, who is their IGL, is going to be the feeling like something like this for the very first time. And I'm telling you from personal experience, this is very, very different than any other game. And because I was on that stage, I felt the pressure. I felt like I knew I saw how my players are behaving differently in this kind of environment for the very first time. Now, if this was like the third, fourth time these guys have been, doing this, then it would be a different thing. Now, Liquid, on the other hand, have like players who like Nitro, Elysian, Nav, who are just, this is just another day in the office. This guy quarterfinal for them. They have been here multiple times. They won the titles. They won everything that needs to be, they won the Grand Slam and all these things except for the major, right? But this is a good chance for them to get into the semis and have a decent chance into getting into the finals. Now, it's not going to be an easy if they get to the semis to beat Vitality, because the arena is going to be full. It's going to be Saturday. It's going to be super, super crazy. But overall, I do think Liquid might win this one simply because of that experience. Now, if this was a game in the legend stage in the best of three, I would probably favor Apex. But again, arena quarterfinals of the major, it has to go towards Liquid, and I am thinking that's gonna happen. Now, the least anticipated game, and some would say for many people the least interesting game. Not for me though, because I want to see like these teams like fighting, brawling it out on the stage for the very first time. Most of these players are going to be playing for the first time in this kind of environment, except SDY, I believe, and it's just going to be a super crazy fight between the teams. Now the raw skill goes in the favor of Monty. I do believe that Boros and Boro and all these players like who are super skilled, they can overcome and like fire their way through the quarterfinals in a not so convincing fashion. I don't think we're going to see a great Counter Strike from these teams. I'm going to think it's going to be a lot of mistakes, a lot of sloppy plays, but it doesn't really matter if you end up winning the game. Who cares, right? So in terms of leadership, I do think that Sushi, whatever his name is, he is the better IGL in this fight. I think he has more balls, when you say it like that. He has more He doesn't have the same experience as SDY, but he's a better IGL overall. I think he doesn't have like the same pieces as SDY has in terms of raw skill and firepower, but he can make it up maybe into the if they if they ended up like going into some sort of high pressure rounds where they need to make a call and stuff like that. So I do believe that, and also the fact that they have a coach rather than Monty, who doesn't have a coach, helping them on the stage might be a very tricky thing. So uh, for me, I want to say, when the thing is like I don't want to rely only on Suhi there or Shui. It's just the name is so weird. Anyway, Shui, I'm gonna call him Shui. Is not gonna be the deciding factor overall. I think he can be a benefit to them, but I think the raw skill of Monty and the fact that they have a big storyline pushing them like into the semifinals, I think that's going to be a deciding factor there, one of the deciding factors there, and I do think Monte will take this one. And now we come to the best game of the quarterfinals on paper, obviously, between Heroic and FaZe Clan. Now this is very difficult to predict, so I'm going to use like when these things are difficult to predict, I use logic to make my choice and to kind of decide who I'm thinking who's going to win this one. Simply, Heroic has played way better. They played better Rio. They lost the final. They played better the challenge. No, the challenge. They played the RMR, qualified for the legend stage. They played the perfect legend stage 3-0. They're playing good Counter Strike. Cadian is leading that team very well. I would like to see him avoid shenanigans on the camera. If you're watching this, Cadian, just focus on your team, focus on the screen, focus on the rounds, focus on your role, do whatever you need to do, and you will win 2-0. I don't want to see any French flags that he's going to be carrying, dancing to the cameras, all these things. So just make sure you focus and you're going to win this game probably in a 2-0 fashion. Now, these teams met in the Legend stage and Heroic won. They dominated them on Inferno. FaZe didn't get a single round on their CT side. It was just a one-way traffic completely. I think there is no reason not to think that the same thing is going to repeat there. Obviously, there is a matter of motivation for FaZe to kind of get revenge, and obviously it's super difficult to defeat the same opponent in the same opponent twice on the same tournament. But this was a best of one, and there is a best of three. The map advantage can also be a factor. A veto advantage can also be a factor for Heroic because they get to pick whatever they want. Like they can match FaZe on Overpass, they can pick Ancient if they want, they can go towards Inferno, they can go towards Mirage. Like the things like they have options. They have like unlimited options in terms of veto, and I don't think they will choke it this time. I do think Heroic is the biggest favorite in this bracket together with Vitality. Now, this game is probably going to go 3 maps, I think. And considering all the factors and all the maps and all the things that have been happening, now I'm a little bit afraid for Heroic because they didn't play a few days and now they have to jump straight into the quarterfinals. They seem to be good in those games, like when they reach the finals, which is like a different story. When they choke, that's in the finals. But in these like playoff games, they seem to be on point. They seem to be right. And every logic, even though my feeling, like I'm gonna say it right here in the camera, my gut feeling says that FaZe might win this, but my logic says that Heroic is going to probably win. So I'm sticking, like I said, with my logic, and I'm picking Heroic right here. Now, the semifinal number 1 would be against the same Heroic and Monty. Now, Monty, this is the end for the road for them. Like I said, they had an easier opponent in the quarterfinals, and I think they're gonna probably win that one. But they're gonna end up against Heroic, which is going to be a super difficult opponent for them, and they can obviously match them in raw skill and the aim power, and it's just firepower, and it's going to be super difficult. Now, Heroic has been in these semifinals multiple times, and they know how to play semifinals. They lost 3 finals in a row, if I remember correctly, which was Kato, Major, and Rio again. So I think they have enough experience in these things not to crumble against a team like Monty. Now, if they had a team like Navi or G2 or somebody like who is more experience in these situations. I think they're going to be probably losing that one, but against Monty, I can't see them. I can see them losing that one. I do think they're going to win that one. And as I'm talking to you about this, my cat is just going crazy on my desk and just having her own fun. Anyway, Heroic might take this one, and I do think it's gonna be a relatively convincing victory for them. So they're gonna get themselves into the final once again. And now we get to the second semifinal. Now this is probably the end of the road for Liquid. Liquid, who played a terrible challenger stage. They had no business getting in the legend stage because the opponents they had there were just much weaker than them and much more unexperienced than them. And in the quarterfinals right now, they have a team that they can match and they can beat simply on experience and the fact that they were here multiple times rather than the most of the Apex players who are here for the very, very first time. Now they're facing Vitality, who is with Apex and Zywo and the crowd on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and they're gonna be hyped, pumped. They're going to be going for it, and I do think they're going to prevail on this one. I don't think Vitality can allow themselves to lose this one against this type of Liquid. Liquid has been struggling quite a bit, even though in the legend stage they had some good games. Obviously they defeated Navi, and which is not an easy thing. But the thing is, like, with a tremendous like T half, I think it was like 14 man on Inferno or something like that. But then again, Navi wasn't playing anything special this event. They were just below average and way below their best performance. So once they run into Vitality, I do think it's going to be a super difficult matchup for them because Zywo is playing out of his mind. Like, he is playing so good. He has a good support from Dupree and he has a good support from Magisk, and Spinks is playing much better than he did in the last 6 months. They won Rio. They're riding the wave of confidence, and I do think they're going to win this one. And now we end up in the grand final. The grand final against Heroic and Vitality, and I do think this is going to be a great final. I do think it's going to go to 3 maps, and historically we have, like we said before, that Heroic has lost 3 finals in a row. They choked 3 finals in a row. They lost to G2 in Katowice. They lost to BP or Outsiders in Rio Major, and they lost to Vitality in the last IEM Rio just a month and a half ago. Now they will get their chance to get revenge on them. Now, it has to be on the French soil. It has to be against the home crowd. I don't think it's going to be a problem for them. They already know how to play. I think 3 finals are like just enough for you to learn your lesson. I especially am talking about Stam, who hasn't been there in those finals, who has been like struggling in these big matches. But I do think right now it's a chance for them to redeem themselves and win the last major, because I do think they deserve it. They deserve it more than any other team in this bracket, because they played well for a very, very long time, and they have a very, very good team, structure wise, chemistry wise, firepower. Like, all these things are very, very good for them, and I do think they might win this one. When it comes to maps, I do think they will have to probably go for something like Mirage, and I do think they have the advantage there. When it comes to Vitality, I don't even know. Maybe Vertigo would be an option for them, which is also a decent map for Heroic. So overall, I think Heroic has the upper hand here in this best of 3, and simply because of the fact that they learned their lesson for the past 3 finals. At least I hope so. And like I said, my logic is kind of matching my gut feeling here as well, and that I do believe Heroic is going to win this one and take the last major, take the last trophy of the CSGO majors for them. So let's do the update. So yeah, they are locked in right now, and if you guys like this content, if you have any of your predictions, I have been getting a lot of like reviews on my videos, a lot of like views, and a lot of people commenting on them. I think people are starting to like it. So if you like it, just make sure you like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Who do you think is going to win, or whatever it is that you're feeling about this bracket, and I'll be happy to go through it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. 1xBet is the official partner of this channel. If you head over there, you can use code 1xKassad or Kassad1x while you register, and you get up to €130 bonus directly from me. So if you're a betting man and you're looking for some good odds, some good platforms, make sure you use 1xBet. See ya.